How we doing today, guys? Sam and Rich here at Anglers. We got all sorts of stuff going on. It's the big Penn event today, but we're back to talk about all things planer boards now.
Absolutely.
So we're going to start out by doing a little rigging.
Yep. So in order to connect your planer board to the boat, you need a planer board line. So we do sell lines that are pre-done. Real big fan of these electric or kind of extension cord reel holders. Really, really easy to reel up your board lines when you're putting them away, or even when you're putting them out, you pull a line off of these pretty easily. But we're going to talk about how to rig them. So Momoe makes outrigger line, and it's 400-pound test, which is plenty strong enough for the planer board lines that we use in the bay, and they make them in 50-yard coils, so this one's going to be 150 feet long. So you just take this, go out in the backyard, stretch it completely out, cut it down in half, and then you've got two 75-foot pieces, which is a perfect length for most of us. You could run probably up to probably 12 dozen, maybe 14 rods if you spread them out. You have a couple off of the boat. So this will cover a lot of the fishing that you need to do on those smaller boats. 400 pound, a lot of people like this high vis so they can see them, but they make them in different colors. And the nice thing about the Momoe outrigger kit is they come with the sleeves. So these are already pre-sized to this line, so you don't have to worry about matching the right sleeves to the right size. It comes with them. And there's usually plenty enough in this kit that you don't have to buy extra sleeves. And with a standard crimper that we would be using, you can crimp those. I'm going to show you how to crimp those as well. So what we usually use is a big brass snap like this that would clip easily to the board. You can also fasten this somehow to the boat. There's different ways you can do that. We're going to talk about how to attach it to the boat in a minute here. But essentially, what we're going to do here is we're going to rig this up. I'm going to show you. This is really important with these longer sleeves. You need to crimp these multiple times, but when crimping, you don't want to over crimp the ends. So the first thing you'll do is you'll take the sleeve, you'll put it on the end of your line. Now with these, we're going to double crimp them because there's a lot of pressure on these, and the board lines, we want these to last for the majority of the year. So we just kind of, like everything with striper trolling, we go overkill. Pull up our line, put the snap on. We're going to feed the first one through. And you'll see our tag end here. We're going to feed the second one on. And we want that tag end to be sticking out just a little bit on the last one. We don't want it to go too much farther. Now to crimp these, we're going to use on these the larger size of the crimping tool. And here's a good tip for you. When you're crimping these larger lines, you want to make sure anytime you're crimping that you have the round end of the sleeves. The sleeves are oval. You want the round ends in the round part of the crimper. That's really, really important. You do not flatten these. You have to crimp them this way. And really important, you want to have a little bit of the sleeve sticking out of the crimper. You do not want to completely flatten that end because it'll bite down on the mono and it'll actually damage it. So we're going to crimp the first one here. Crimp that. Now here's the important part. I don't want to keep crimping down that sleeve because the sleeve will curve. So we crimp the first one that way, and then we turn the sleeve over and we crimp the middle. Make sure the sleeve is in there correctly. We crimp the middle, and then we turn the sleeve back the original way. Make sure there's a little bit of end sticking out like that, and we crimp there. Now, when you look at that long sleeve, it should be pretty straight. It's not going to curve or arc at all. And that's done. You don't have to crimp the middle nubs there. They're fine. That's just the way they are. And then I'll come up and I'll do the second sleeve as well. That's really important. So we'll go ahead and crimp that one. We'll crimp that one a little bit faster. And you don't have to have the sleeves right next to each other. You can have a little bit of room in between. It's not going to hurt anything. Again, you want to turn it for the middle one, crimp, and then turn it back for the original one, like so. And then you pull your tool off, and there you go. Double crimped, nice and strong. Size of the loop doesn't really matter. You want it free enough that it can move around. You don't want it super tight. You don't want it really, really big either. So that should be fine. And so you can attach that to the other end doing the same manner. One of the things that I'll do is I'll make a loop. This will go on the boat. So this snap swivel is a little small. It's the first thing I grabbed. I go with as heavy a snap swivel as you can get, like a 300-pound snap swivel. We saw these coast locks here. You'll put one on this device that I'm going to explain, and you'll put one on the other end. So the brass clip will go here, And then on the other end of this, I'll put a really, really heavy coast lock. Again, like a 300 and some pound coast lock. And this will go anywhere on the boat. This gets loop to loop around on your hard top, on the T-top. You can put it on a cleat if you want. The important part about these is you want them as high as you can get them, but still able to reach the clips for safety reasons. Because you want your board lines to descend down to the water. You don't want to put them on the cleat on the side of the boat because it's too low. You don't get a good path for those clips to slide down.
It's a great demonstration there, Rich. Now we got to figure out how to hang some lines off.
We do.
So there's a few different options out there, but Scotty clips are really just the way to go.
They are.
Most folks are going to be using these. There's a vast majority of ways to rig them up. We just have a couple. Well, we have one example here, which is your most popular, which is just a carabiner, and then you have your Scotty clip here. That is just crimped with a little piece of wire there and a snap. There's many ways to do this. The snap's not necessarily necessary. If you're rigging this yourself, you can do all sorts of different ways to do that. But from here, if we were to take this, get a little tension going, you would take your line and you would clip that, the line coming off the rod I should say, and you clip that into there, and you'll be able to hold this, clip that onto the board, and that'll allow that to slide out, and then when a fish hits it, it's going to pop that planer, the release through. Now one thing to remember, if you are using braid, you're going to want to twist that line a little bit to put some tension coming off of that rod with the braid because it's just a little bit thinner diameter. So when you're getting a lot of fish though, you might run out of a few of these, but there's another thing you can use, and that's just a simpler shower curtain ring and a little rubber band. That's the old school way to do it. Get this here.
Is it because it's blue? That's why.
So this was the line off the reel. You wrap the rubber band around. Just once is more than enough. Put the shower curtain ring into the rubber band. And then you'd hook that shower curtain ring right onto your board line. And you'd close the shower curtain ring. And the idea is, as you're trolling, this is pulling, and when a fish grabs hard enough, it pulls that rubber band, and the rubber band will break. Once the rubber band breaks, this will slide down to the board, and then just grab a new rubber band for the next go around. And so a lot of people ask about that. Whether you're using the shower curtain rings with the rubber bands or you're using the Scotty clips, all of this stuff will, because of gravity, fall down towards the board. And when you're done fishing, all of these clips will be hanging down here. You get that board back in, you get all the clips back. You can't get them back without pulling that board in. So you want to make sure you have plenty of these on the boat. If you don't buy enough of these, having those rubber bands is going to be a good backup if you start running out. If it's a really busy day, you have a lot of clips popping. And to Sammy's point, you want to make sure with these. So one thing to point out on these Scotty clips, they actually have two settings. And so if you look at the clip like this, they squeeze open. If you push this button out, like so, in, out, going out makes them harder to open. And so that's good for your braided lines or your smaller diameter lines. And then you push them in for your heavier lines, your thicker lines that are going to go in there. And don't be afraid to play around too. You can put the line all the way into the clip. You can also put them in at an angle. You can change to make it easier to pull out of the clip, depending on the size of the fish you're coming across. You find you bury them in there and it seems like a lot of fish are pulling these and they're not popping. Next time you do it, you can adjust it a little bit, which is nice. And I'm a big fan of putting flags on my carabiners. It's just duct tape. It's brightly colored. You can duct tape in a million different colors. And these are really, really easy to see when they're 75 feet, 100 feet away from the boat. You can see these really easy and it'll help you with your spacing, which is really important with planer board rods. You don't want them all stacked right up on top of each other because they can get tangled. You need them to be spread out a little bit. And so you'll get used to looking down that line and kind of seeing them all and seeing them all evenly spaced out.
So I think the last thing we need to touch on is something you don't want to forget when you're out there.
Absolutely.
A flag.
Yes.
That is a great thing to have out there. And most of your planer boards will have an area for you to put them into.
Yeah, they'll have a hole in them, or you can get those like the American flags that have like the 1/4-inch dowel rod. They make rod holders, flagpole holders that you can screw to the side. You can slide them in, but you want to find some way to attach the flag. Flag's really important, and we highly recommend most of the boards that we sell come pre-painted white. I would take a can of brightly colored spray paint, and I would paint at least the tops of it, if not the whole thing. Make up some kind of obnoxious color. bright orange, bright yellow, bright green. White blends in with white caps, so I don't like white usually myself. So make them some kind of bright color. It's for you to see where they are, but it's also for other boaters to see where they are so that you guys don't run into each other. So the flags will stick up nice and high as well. It makes it even easier.
Another tip is you can go and find some reflective tape that you can put on there. That's really, really beneficial, especially on those overcast days and things are just hard to see.
Yeah.
The reflective tape is another great tip for you guys.
So remember with your board lines too, we talked about the length. You can buy a 300-yard coil of leader and make them 150 feet long. You can make them, you buy the 50-yard coil, make them 75 feet long, but you can make them whatever length you want. You can make them 50 feet, 25 feet. You don't have to have a certain length. You can make them whatever you want. And don't be afraid to run one. So opening day, it can be really busy out there. I want to run my board lines, but there's tons of boats out here. It's going to be a problem. Just run one side. You don't need to have both out at the same time.
Well, I think that just about wraps it up. And come on by, guys. We still have a ton of combos left in stock for the Penn sale. Me and Rich are still out here rigging. We got Tim over there tying parachutes. So stop on by and check us out. We'll see you in a little bit next summer.
Good luck, guys. Have fun out there.